Welcome back to Engineers. My name is DJ Head. If you are just joining us, please hit the platform, engineers.com. Our guy MixedByAli created a wonderful platform for all different phases of the music industry, recording artists, producers, engineers, mixing, recording, mastering engineers, a great place to network, and where you can get in touch with people like this. This guy goes by the name of Yungin. It's my guy, David Yungin Kim. Make some noise, give it up for him.
Check, check.
There we go. So do you want to give a brief blurb for the people that don't know, that's watching at home? You know who you are. Just a little. Give them a little taste, just a little bit.
Yeah. My name's David Yungin Kim, and I'm a mix engineer, originally from Korea, but I reside in Los Angeles. I've mixed. I'm Hit Boy's engineer, so I basically touch everything he produced. I've done recently Chalice, Nas, yeah, some of the BTS guys, Big Sean,
All that.
a couple, yeah.
All that. I want to go back a little bit to your origin story, because I know it myself. I know you, but for the people that don't know, the engineers, like you are a recording engineer. You also mix. Getting started, for the people that's watching, like, what's a good way to get started? And then also, I guess you can tie it into how you knew you wanted to do this, like, as a profession.
I think getting started as a mix engineer is really, in 2023, a mix engineer got to be more than just a mix engineer. You know what I mean? You got to know arrangement. You got to know what feeling you're chasing, what vibes are going to go with what sounds, and networking in 2023 is king, bro. Like, the people you talk to, even if you're not the best mix engineer, you can have a career and get better as your career progresses. And I feel like getting yourself out there, mingling with people that have similar tastes, and just grinding, you know? Like, there's no shortcut to that ever, and there's never going to be.
Everybody wants a shortcut.
Yeah.
Everybody wants you to hit a magic button and put them in a room with Jay-Z.
I can give you Pro Tools shortcuts, but not shortcuts to life.
Okay, so when it comes to getting in the room, your origin story is interesting to me, but if you want to share a little bit of that, how you ended up working with Hit Boy full time and then doing your own thing as well.
Yeah, so I went up from an intern in 2011 at Chalice Studios to
wait. How'd you end up interning at Chalice? Like,
okay, so I went to Musicians Institute. I went there for the engineering program. And this was kind of like my last-ditch effort. I almost gave up in life, but it was like, okay, let's try this last thing. You know, I've always been passionate about music growing up. So, you know, I gave it a chance, and I ended up really, really loving it. These are the best grades I've ever gotten in my life. Date back to preschool, and where they give you automatic A's. And I ended up graduating top of my class. And, you know, I was on the top of the world, like, okay, now nothing can stop me. And for 2 years, I couldn't find work. And finally landed an internship at Chalice Recording Studio. And from there, I thought I was set, but no, I was going into an internship that turned into a runnership for 4 years. And for that whole time, I was, you know, sweeping floors, picking up cigarette butts, cleaning up ashtrays, wiping toilets, picking up food for clients. And I can't lie, like, those 4 or 5 years were some of the most painful and the most humbling years of my life. And thankfully, you know, towards the end of that, I got to do a Chick-fil-A run for Hit Boy. He was at Chalice, and you know, this was my opportunity.
That's important. Chick-fil-A is important.
This was when Chick-fil-A in Hollywood first opened. This was the only Chick-fil-A in LA, period. So, you know, you had lines out the door. And, you know, I took it as this is my opportunity. If I can't mix for him right now, if I can't record for him right now, then I have to do whatever I can. And I got this run, and I was like, okay, this is going to be the fastest Chick-fil-A run of all time.
What was Hit Boy's Chick-fil-A order? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's spicy, regular chicken sandwich and waffle fries. And a sweet tea.
And a sweet tea.
Yeah, large.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew all the back streets by now. I've been running for a while, and I told myself I'm gonna make this the quickest Chick-fil-A run of all time. I got back with the food like 15 minutes flat. I kid you not, and it caught their attention. The manager was like, "Whoa, I didn't even know you left." Because typically runners take their time. This is their time to be outside of the studio, no responsibilities.
Yeah, they go put a load of laundry at their house.
Yeah, all that shit. And his manager at the time was like, "Wow, I didn't even know you left. Like, what's your name?" And he was like, "Well, you produce? What do you do?" And I was like, "No, I'm an engineer." And he took my number, and I didn't get a call back for like 3 years. But
say that again.
I didn't get a call back for 3 years. Just like when I applied for the first time at Chalice, I didn't get the job for 2 years. They finally called me back, and they were trying to replace the engineer that he had. And again, I seized the opportunity. It was a recording session. I went in there and recorded my ass off. And from there, they kept calling me back. I had until a conflict of interest between Chalice and Hit Boy occurred. And at that time, he sat me down and he was like, "Yo, I want to give you a salary to be my full-time engineer, and then the rest is history." Now we both got rooms at Chalice.
That's fire. Give it up for that. That's crazy. That's from a Chick-fil-A run. I like when you tell that story because it's significant for two reasons. One, it shows consistency, but then two, it also shows you got to get in the fucking room. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to get in the room. And if that's, picking up ashtrays, if that's whatever, because when you're in the room and you provide value, that's when somebody's going to hit you and be like, "Yo, so what do you do?" That's it right there. That's all you need is that one question. "Oh, I'm a mixing engineer. I'm a recording engineer." Whatever the case may be. But that's important. That's why I like when you tell that story. I want to go into like what you brought up school. You went to the Musicians Institute. A lot of people, actually everybody we've talked to, hasn't had any formal training. As a mixing engineer, do you feel like you benefited? Do you feel like you benefit more from having formal education in engineering over other people, or do you feel like you could have learned it on your own?
I think this is a play on what you just said. It got me in the room. Certain studios don't even interview you unless you have the certification.
Say that again.
This got me in the room. Certain studios don't give you a chance unless you have a certification. So I didn't know it at the time. I thought I had to go get the education to get the useful information. But in hindsight, I could have learned it on my own. There's so many resources available. YouTube, for example, like you can learn to do anything on YouTube these days. And if I had known that, I don't know, I would have still went to school because that got me to Chalice, that got me to where I am today. But, that's not the only way, and that's not an excuse for you not to achieve your goals.
Working hands-on with clients, you're you touch everything that comes out of that studio. But when it comes to working hands-on with clients, is that important for you to be there for the whole process? Are you okay with just getting files? A lot of engineers that I'm seeing on the come up now, they want to be in the studio because they want to see the full vision of the music, right? Are you okay with just receiving emails? Do you want to be in there while they're recording? I know you do the recording too, but from a mixing standpoint.
I would love, in the dream scenario, I would be there. If there were no time restraints, there were no energy restraints. Some of these sessions go till 6, 7 in the morning.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. So if those things don't exist, then I would be in every session if I were able to. But with what's available and the time constraints, economic restraints, all that, I'm okay getting the files as long as they're sent to me the right way. And if they're recorded the right way and I'm already a fan of the artist, then by the time I get the files, I already kind of know like what zone I have to tap into.
Are you doing everything on Pro Tools?
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever experimented with other DAWs, like from a mixing and recording standpoint?
Yeah, Hit Boy uses FL. So,
FL Studio God.
so sometimes I have like we'll record a sample into FL, or he might cut some vocals into FL. So I had to learn how to do that. I started on Logic, so I know how to work around Logic. Ableton too. I taught myself Ableton because there's a lot of people that use it. And then for a short period of time, I thought the Presonus DAW. I was convinced that it sounded better than all the other DAWs, so I was like trying to learn it. And then I was like, wait, I don't know how to be efficient in this, and that's more important to me than the overall sound at that time. So I was like, I learned how to use all the DAWs, but Pro Tools is my jam.
Pro Tools is your jam. Okay.
Let Avid hear that real loud.
Yo, bless the homie one time. What's the from your perspective? You've done both. You do both. What's the difference between a recording engineer and a mixing engineer? Not from the obvious. Oh, you record the vocals, but there's a lot of. I've seen mixing engineers reproduce a record and not get production credit. Right. I've also seen recording engineers vocally produce the artist and not get credit as a vocal producer. So from your perspective, what's the difference between the two?
Recording engineers do a lot of creative stuff on the spot. I feel like almost all recording engineers have some vocal producing going on. They'll have input on direction. They'll, from the files I'll get a 2-track and in stems. There's always some editing done to the arrangement, the dropouts and
verify. I know how to verify.
yeah. Filtered sections, all that. So I feel like, recording engineers in a lot of ways are producers. And from the mix standpoint, you already have everything set. There's a different creative channel you can tap in after. There's no way you can change anything except with what you're given. Because as a vocal producer or a recording engineer, you can ask them to try something a different way. You can ask them to do 4 doubles instead of 1 double. But as a mix engineer, you get 1 double, you got to make that double do what you want it to do. So I think that's where it lies. There's a mix engineer works what's given, and a recording engineer can ask or demand for stuff to, change.
Have you ever? So you've worked on everything from Surf Club to King's Disease. New King's Disease is on the way, by the way. Hit Boy said that. Yungin didn't say that. I'm telling you right now. New King's Disease is coming. But anyway, being that you've worked on all these different projects, you've gotten to work with legends, new people. Is there a different approach with every artist? Like you say, you work with Cali, right? That's different. That's a different mixing process than it is working with Nas and Hit Boy. So what's your approach to mixing different genres, different feels, different vibes? Do you always start off with the same process, or how does that work?
Every process starts with dissecting like the importance of a certain element in a song. So if I get a Kali Uchis song, obviously the drums aren't as important as her vocals. And in the vocals, you're pinpointing what the element or the instrument is that gives you the feeling that the song is supposed to have. So if I get a song from Kali Uchis, her vocals are super wet and vibey, and that dictates where the song goes. If her vocals cut out, you can tell the song loses whatever element, and it changes tone. So I focus on the vocals on an R&B song most of the time, or if there's like a crazy Rhodes in the background that gives me the emotion that the song is supposed to have or the genre is supposed to address, I try to focus on that. So if I got a hip hop song, I'm focusing on 808, kick, snare, and then building everything else up around that. With a K-pop song, I'm focusing on vocals and like the melodic instruments. The drums don't have to pop as much. So I think stepping back and listening to the genre and what the clear direction of the song is before mixing it, instead of just going in and being like, oh, the kick drum's supposed to be at -6 and 808's supposed to be right under it and blah, blah, blah. There's not really a formula, and there's not one tool that's supposed to do something that, that's supposed to stick. Like, I feel like we have all these tools to use in any way, that we please. And watching Ali, like, he go crazy. Like
crazy. He's a maniac. What was the first Nas record you worked on?
First Nas was King's Disease.
King's Disease. Do you feel a different level of, first of all, that's crazy, okay? Second of all, do you feel a different level of pressure working on something like that? Like, Nas is a legend, right? Is that a different approach than working on like some shit you working on your own? Yeah. Like, is there a pressure? Is that do you feel pressure?
I think there's more pressure after I initially mix it, because there's something that happens in the studio. When you're in the studio with people, like, they become people, no matter how famous they are. And I'm sure you can attest to this too. Like, if you're in a room with someone mega famous, you might be nervous walking into the room, but once you're in there, it's like, oh, we all people, right? And then you get that feeling and that relatability, and I think that allows you to be more honest in your work.
So have you told Nas that you didn't like anything over the course of these King's Diseases?
Yeah.
What did you tell him you didn't like, and what changed that we heard?
There'll be times where he'd be like, hey, what do you think about this part? And then he would suggest that, like, oh,
so do you tell him, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's crazy. But do you tell Nas, yeah, nah, fuck that, like?
not directly, not directly.
Okay.
Yeah, not directly.
Okay, so how does it go?
If me, Hit, and Nas are in there together, and there's ideas bouncing, he's writing and stuff, there might be something where we're like, this part should be more wordy or something like that, and he'll consider it, and it's not like us telling, like, we can't tell him what to do, but just hearing him consider it is like, oh, okay, he respects us.
Yeah, that's fire. I want to go into like other things as far as outside of mixing. Schedule management is huge, especially with somebody who's working on their own projects, and then also working with clients. I'm sure that a lot of engineers are producers or artists or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Schedule management. Can you talk about your best practices or any way that you do it?
I think as far as schedule management, you gotta be efficient with your time. Early in my career, I would go into the studio for 10 hours and sometimes like slack off for 2, watch YouTube videos and then finally lock in and get what I had done. But nowadays, if I don't get things done as soon as they get in, if I procrastinate, then it's all bad, because you don't know how many revisions the artist is going to have. You don't know what additional song is going to be put on the project last minute. So you need to make space available. You can't have just enough time. You have to create time for yourself by just being efficient. Yeah. And a lot of things is routine-based. Go to the studio even if you have nothing to do. And there'll be times where I go to the studio, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12, whatever, and there's not a lot on my plate, but as soon as I get there, like, client would be like, can I get stems to this song? Oh, can I get cleans to this song? And I'm like, oh shoot, what would happen if I wasn't here? You know what I'm saying? So I think routine can really help in that sense. You just don't know what your clients are going to request and what you're going to need to do that day. You have what you need to finish, but that's not going to make up that whole space of what you need to finish that day. You know what I'm saying?
What about losing files? Okay. It's a nightmare. Yeah. Your hard drive crashes. You take it to Melrose Mac or data recovery.
Five bands.
5,000 for you to recover this hard drive.
Mix was $100.
Right. I know you've had horror story. Everybody's had a horror story where they've lost a file, erased a session, something like that. How do you deal with that? What's your process?
Man, now I make two backups and
make 2 of everything.
I make 2 backups and I back up to the cloud.
Okay, so that's where I was going with it. Yeah. You trust the cloud.
I do.
Is there anybody here that does not trust the cloud to back up files? You don't trust the cloud? You don't. Okay. You don't trust the cloud. All right. So, are you automatically diving in as far as okay? I'm gonna back up to the cloud. I'm backing up to Dropbox. Whatever. You fully trust it.
Yeah, I do.
More than a physical.
No. I that's why I do all three.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I have physical that I work off. I have a physical on site. I have a physical that is not connected to the machine at all times. And then I have one in the cloud. And I don't know, my workflow is kind of crazy because I can access my computer on my phone right now. And I have a backup that's automatically going. It's a company called Backblaze that backs it up.
Wait, say that again?
Backblaze.
Backblaze.
It automatically updates. So like literally I can work on something and 10 minutes later it'll be on my on the cloud and I can pull out my phone.
The whole session.
Yeah, I can pull out my phone and access the files if I need to send this to somebody.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a bar. Another thing, I want to take some questions too, but another thing is check chasing is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. Trying to track down people to get your money. You're familiar, you're on EngineEars. How is a platform like EngineEars gonna transcend or help people like yourself going forward, like in the future, being able to build a community, get paid, etc.?
It's everything because I've known people to retire or just quit music altogether from not getting paid and being tired of chasing their checks and like I've had checks that took me 7-8 months to get and they still didn't want to pay it. It's crazy and that's super discouraging for the creative. We're not trained in corporate emails and talking about finances and all that stuff. So to have a platform like EngineEars that'll collect for you, pay you and then collect for you, or provide alternate forms of payment for your clients, I think that's huge. Because
does it change your workflow? Because essentially EngineEars is the cloud, right? It is the cloud, but it's also essentially a DAW, but it's also accounting, but it's also a network. Right, but it's also social media. So does it change the way that you would work with the client, long distance?
I think you have more power. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to wear 5 different shoes at the same time or different hats at the same time. Like you can just be you. You can focus on your craft every day. Get better at mixing or producing or whatever, and let the platform do itself.
I want to talk real quick about working on the road because I know you've had to do that. A lot of people, I don't know if they're snobs, but there are a lot of traditional people who would say you have to mix outboard. It's crazy if you don't mix outboard. And some people mix. Is anybody here that mixes in the box? Okay, see, exactly. So you've had to do that at some point, right? Can you give tips on mixing in the box?
I'm 99.9% in the box.
99.9% in the box.
Yeah.
Give them some tips.
Man, okay. How I have it is I have a remote PC software on my computer, right? So anywhere in the world I can access my computer as long as it's on at my studio. And I can get in there, open up a window, and I have access to my Pro Tools. Boom.
Is that an app you could share with?
Yeah, the one I use is called Remote PC.
Remote PC.
But then there's a lot of like remote desktop client style programs that you can use. And then that in conjunction to, there's this plugin called Listen To, where you can stream, you can throw it on the end of your chain, and then you can stream your whole session to a link. So I can send this link to 10 people and be playing it in my studio, and everyone can hear it live. So I have the remote desktop, remote PC as my visual, and then I'll turn on that on a link, and then I can hear my session from anywhere in the world.
That's a bar. I don't know if you wrote that down. I had another question for you as far as, because Hit Boy swears by FL, lives in the FL studio. Are there anybody FL studio people here? All right, that's what's up. Most people here are Ableton or what? Machine? Okay.
Ableton.
So, from your experience, Is it true or is it not true that the FL drums sound different than everybody else's? That's true.
It's true. It's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
Because you have to mix the record. So I would assume that you would know the difference.
Bro, it's to a point that sometimes I'll get the stems from an FL song, and then Hit Boy would have his like rough mix, and I'm like, shit, I can't get this mix to sound like the mix that came out of FL. I don't know exactly what it is, but you know, they have their own soft clipper on there, and they have certain elements, and their algorithm just sounds different.
That's crazy. Okay, and then also, how important is color coding when mixing?
To me, it's very important because I don't always rename all my tracks. Sometimes I'm like in a rush to mix something, so I'll color my music yellow, my drums purple, Lakers, and then like my 808 red or whatever. But that lets me, you know, if I have 150 tracks and I need to quickly navigate to get to my hi-hat or to my kick drum, like I'm not trying to scroll and read, you know, 10 tracks before I get to the right one. I want to get to exactly where I want to, and the colors, they're the first indicator. And then I have like an order I go by, like a kick drum, snare, hi-hat, and then the rest of the drums. And then I have like the lead melodic instrument and then the other ones under it. So I know if I go to yellow, the first one is the main melodic. If I go to the purple, the first one is my kick. And that saves me, you know, it might save me 2 seconds in one instance, but over 100 instances, that's, you know, 200 seconds.
There you go. Again, go to EngineEars.com. We want you to sign up. If you are recording, mixing, mastering, artist, producer, we want you on the platform. He's already spoke to the benefits of the platform. And then Yungin is also going to be right on the back side of this wall, real briefly, for if you want photos or you want to just, you know, try to get a Hit Boy feature. He'll be right here on the back side of this wall right after this. EngineEars, thank you.
Sir, thank y'all.